Beneath the dense foliage in front of the Turquoise Kingdom Adventurers Guild, people stroll past each other, their conversations intertwined and their footsteps echoing down the street, creating a lively atmosphere even before any decisions are made. The young man then looks through the job postings and pauses when he notices that among all the positions offered, the position of a tamer stands out, causing him to have a brief, puzzled reaction as he weighs this unfamiliar path. Afterwards, in a room filled with shelves and papers, they explain that tamers make contracts with monsters to become their familiars, and the listener nods, confirming that the explanation makes sense. Meanwhile, the fair-haired boy asks the dark-haired one to explain what it's like to fight alongside a familiar and how such comrades help gather information, clearly interested in the practical side of the profession. Soon, attention shifts sharply to the dark-haired youth, and a pointing gesture asks what part of his body can be considered a tamer, emphasizing that he didn't even bring a single monster with him. In response, he quickly explains that he can tame a creature called Phantasma, but the clerk dismisses this claim, stating that such conversations do not count as work and cannot be recorded. Then he becomes flustered as he insists his familiar is present despite not being visible, leaning forward and explaining as the other listens intently, curiosity momentarily replacing doubt. At the table opposite him, there was a blonde man. The companion calmly introduces herself as a fire spirit named Claire, clarifying her identity as they remain seated face to face. Afterwards, the dark-haired boy urges them to stop, mentioning two phantasms waiting at home, but the blonde man firmly orders them to leave, leading to a reluctant agreement. Stepping outside, he calmly declares that his divine calling is more sedate, adjusting the bag on his shoulder as if reaffirming his resolve despite his recent rejection. He then explains that phantasmas belong to a race that is invisible and inaudible to normal humans, adding that no guild has ever believed him, which explains his current predicament, while someone nearby repeats these words in disbelief. Meanwhile, Kohaku notices rumors spreading about an incompetent trainer and an invisible monster, and hears that similar stories are circulating far beyond the borders of this country. Claire reacts sharply, venting his anger at being rejected by all the guilds, and stands his ground when his frustration spills out without restraint. After this, Kohaku admits that every time he hears such answers, he becomes furious, and the boy calmly notes that words alone can only explain so much. Kohaku then lashes out, accusing those around her of lying and calling her incompetent, while the boy next to her simply watches, maintaining an unwavering calm. Kohaku then pauses in surprise, explaining that her anger on his behalf allows him to remain calm and handle the situation without losing his composure. A more tender moment follows. Kohaku smiles and thanks her, and Claire places her hand on his shoulder, the mutual gratitude breaking the tension between them. He then admits that he was glad to see her calm down, and she counters that he should allow himself a little anger too, if only for his own good. Soon after, he asks what she plans to do next since all the guilds have rejected her, which causes her to angrily state that she already knows everything, causing him to flinch slightly. Finally, Kohaku confidently states that posing as a fire mage will ensure his entry, while Claire questions the tamer obsession, and he warns her that lying about her role will only lead to exposure. Kohaku heads towards a quiet country house, and then Claire vents her anger at people's obsession with divine professions, while he calmly agrees with her reasoning and they walk down the path together. After this, it becomes clear that good work brings respect and money, and bad work brings disdain, a simple scale that sternly but clearly ranks people in this world. He then walks through a dilapidated, familiar room, thinking that this is the world he was born into and must obey, while a girl hovers nearby, silently watching his every move. Following this thought, he decides to put in more effort, believing that sincere efforts will eventually bring something meaningful, and she remains behind him, silently watching, not disturbing him. Soon after, Sophia warmly welcomes Ku home, and Fenrir runs forward excitedly, the cozy room filling with movement and energy as familiar faces gather. He then joyfully announces his return to both of them, and she watches him with a calm, attentive gaze, listening to his tone and posture. The fox then apologizes for another failure today and asks Koji how it went, and Sophia hands her master clean clothes, receiving a brief thank you in return. Then the girl standing next to the huge wolf assured the boy that being together was more important than any place, and her calm words calmed the situation. Claire notices Sophia constantly sniffling and asks her about it. Her voice is tinged with irritation as she focuses on the strange behavior. In response, Sophia sharply objects, accusing him of burying his face in the wall earlier, and he calmly responds, asking what she could have meant. Sophia then explains that Claire's frequent delusions influence her perception of things, suggesting that these illusions cloud her judgment more than she realizes. Meanwhile, Kohaku and Soraya playfully bicker. Claire calls them unbearable, and Ku turns to the large fox and asks what he plans to do next. After this, Kohaku admits that he visited every guild in the Turquoise Kingdom and was rejected by everyone, which clearly shows how dire his situation has become. He then explains that if everyone agrees, he intends to move to another country, stating outright that this will mean he will have to leave everything behind. She asks if he really means another country, and he replies that a foreign guild might still offer a chance, maintaining a thin thread of hope. Kohaku ponders how rumors are likely spreading nearby, and then focuses on the distant country that most likely knows nothing about him. With a tense sigh, he reveals his plan to travel to the kingdom of Brumund, his expression a mixture of determination and uncertainty. Someone asks if there is a Tamers Guild in Brumund at all, and the girl confirms that there is, while the dark-haired girl listens in silence. Ku excitedly declares that he will go anywhere with Ku, hugging the fox as Sufia watches him silently, and Kohaku turns around upon hearing her name. Finally, Sufia firmly declares that she will go with them, and Kohaku also insists on joining, asking to be taken to where the road leads. The boy explains that they will leave tomorrow morning and urges everyone to get ready immediately. The girl with the short hair agrees, the girl in the headdress nods, and the dog happily nudges them forward. Soon after, Sufia informs the others that their master has left the kingdom of Turcolis and decided to move to the kingdom of Brumundund, which causes a stunned reaction and immediate denial from someone nearby. Kohaku then admits that she only came to this remote country because of one person. Another man mentions that he has given blessings before, and a blonde man casually states that he is already treated like a god there. That night, the boy lies under the covers next to the large dog, explaining that their master has abandoned the country, then pauses and tries to rephrase his meaning more carefully. After this, Sufia calmly explains that the country did not recognize the dignity of their master and forced him to make the painful decision to leave. The young man asks if their master still has any feelings for this land, while the dark-haired figure formally addresses all the phantasms gathered around. In response, the crowd raises its fists in anger, and someone loudly declares that such a prolonged attachment is absolutely impossible. The next morning, in the kingdom of Turkalizeld Man, the man sitting on the throne asks if the offerings were brought, and the man nervously replies that yes, but nothing happened at the appointed time. The old man on the throne then tells the girl to keep the faith and wait for Gaia's prophecy, while the man standing next to her laughs, displaying misplaced self-confidence. Suddenly, a young man bursts into the room, shouting about an emergency, and the frightened woman, sitting up in bed, demands to know the cause of the noise. Soon after, a young man nervously informs the robed man that the guild's strongest swordmaster has completely lost the ability to use his skills, while another listener tenses up. The blonde figure wonders if this condition is psychological, but the one sitting on the floor categorically denies it, explaining that the ability simply refuses to activate. The young man then declares in disbelief that this cannot be true, while the aged king sinks down on his throne in despair, with two silent guards standing motionless beside him. The king, shocked and confused, wonders why the skill based on spirit power has completely failed, while someone hurriedly calls out to him from the side. Then two men rush in, reporting that the water quality is rapidly deteriorating and the crops are dying, while the elderly ruler tenses and a crowd fills the doorway behind them. The young man adds that even the great mage of their guild is affected by this, his face expressing shock and alarm as the situation spirals out of control. The older man then warns that the air is becoming polluted and that hordes of demons are beginning to flock into it. He sharply orders everyone to be silent at the same time, reinforcing his order with a hard, unyielding look. A few moments later, the man asks Gaia what happened, and she replies that she forgot to say hello to the head of the church, though he calmly tells her that it is not necessary. Finally, one person declares that the country is doomed to destruction now that they have left, while another responds that greetings or farewells will not change anything. Kohaku explains that he has confiscated all sword skills bestowed upon humans, calmly stating that a country that has wronged him has no right to rely on such power, to which Claire agrees, and a girl from behind gently reassures him. One figure then addresses the group, saying that from now on, they need only follow Kohaku-sama wherever he goes, and leave everything else behind as everyone listens under the crescent moon and towering mountains. Soon after, Kohaku, riding atop a massive wolf, soars through the sky, pointing out to Alex the capital of the Brumund Kingdom, while the vast city spreads out below under a clear, shining sky. Claire smiles confidently and encourages Kohaku, saying that this time everything will work out and that he mustn't believe in themselves as they descend towards the city. At the gate, Kohaku explains to the official that he has come from the kingdom of Turkaliza to emigrate and wishes to join the Tamers Guild, adding that he needs to obtain an entry visa and immigration documents. The dark-haired youth reacts with surprise to the uniformed officer's question about whether he has tamed any demons yet, and calmly hands over his documents for confirmation. He nervously replies that, of course, they are not visible, while behind him stand quietly a maid, a tiny fairy-like creature, and a large dog, and the officer, without interfering, studies what is happening. Soraya suddenly calls out to Kohaku, but he remains calm while the guard states that no one is visible at the moment, and another girl watches from the side. Kohaku picks up the letter and explains that bringing a demon would be implausible and would only disappoint those around him, though two nearby figures silently call him incompetent and a liar. After this, the guard respectfully greets Alex, calling him Kohaku Dono's trainer and asking if he is just starting his taming work here. The man in uniform smiles broadly and greets politely, expressing genuine joy at receiving such a guest. Kohaku pauses, considering that the word surprised him since he hadn't heard it in a long time, and guesses that the other person probably thinks it's strange. She points out the shortest route to the guild, and he gratefully accepts her help, expressing his appreciation as they pass under a stone arch. As he moves on, Kohaku reflects on how this country, of course, still knows nothing about him, and someone nearby quietly assures him that everything will be fine. Inside the hall, a woman looks in amazement at the sheer number of demons present, noting that it is quite consistent with a tamer's guild, while others stand among the creatures and someone looks over documents at a table. He remarks that such sights are rare in the kingdom of Turkalis, and she listens calmly, maintaining a calm and thoughtful expression on her face. Suddenly, Kohaku anxiously asks what happened, while Claire and the others standing behind him react with obvious surprise and confusion. The young man quickly explains that humans can't see phantasma, but demons can, speaking quickly as sweat appears on his face, making it clear he's surprised. Sufia adds that the other demons fear phantasma because they are the highest race among demons, and the boy realizes that is why everyone reacted so violently. Finally, the creature explains that normal demons cannot speak but show emotions physically, demonstrating that it has never heard of anyone experiencing fear before. Sufia calmly agrees, standing next to him. The boy smiles softly, and the tiny creature curiously picks up the apple. He then holds it out, wondering if it would like some, while the creature's attention is riveted on the fruit. The boy continues to smile, and the little creature, perking up, politely gestures, its joy evident as it accepts the apple carefully and without hesitation. After this, the young man comes closer and asks to register as a member of the club, and the woman with braids responds politely, asks him to wait a little, and turns to the counter. Surrounded by fluttering creatures, Kohaku lowers her head and quietly apologizes, adding that she will leave immediately as soon as this is over, trying not to draw attention to herself. Soon after, the dark-haired boy apologizes for keeping someone waiting, his tone cautious, a look of surprise on his face, and he straightens his posture. Saria then happily introduces herself as a member of the Tamers Guild, smiling openly and expressing genuine joy at meeting everyone gathered. Kohaku nervously states his name, and when asked if he plans to register today, he agrees, although he feels like he sounds strange and that the situation is painfully awkward. Then he is handed an object and asked to touch it first. He hesitates, looking at it carefully and wondering what it could be. As Kohaku listens, Claire explains that the crystal is a recent invention that displays both the types and number of tamed demons, which is unique to this particular guild. The boy then asks if the crystal can also reveal which demons can be tamed, and the girl with braids explains that the crystal instantly reveals the truth, even if someone is trying to lie. Claire notices his stiff reaction and asks if everything is okay, to which Kohaku immediately brushes it off, replying that it is nothing to worry about. Suddenly startled, Kohaku is told to remain silent by Saria, while the two dog-like figures excitedly urge Ku to throw something, marveling at having finally found what they were looking for. The girl tries to persuade him to give in, but the guy sitting next to him calmly suggests that they first check everything thoroughly before making any decisions. Kohaku raises his hands and asks everyone to calm down, while Claire silently admires the beautiful glow. Saria eagerly asks if it's edible, and Satvia notices that it is quite beautiful. Kohaku then places his hand on the softly glowing orb, and when Claire suggests that he relax and let go, he swallows and nervously agrees. Claire notices 3 golden lights and explains that they will analyze his information as a trainer using this light, and asks him to wait patiently until he responds that he understands. He reacts with disbelief, insisting it is impossible, while she studies the document closely, nervously, doubting the veracity of the detailed results. Claire suddenly grabs Kohaku by the collar, her shock clearly visible, and she demands confirmation that he really is a phantasm tamer, completely losing her composure. Later, in the reception area, the dark-haired young man bows several times, apologizing for raising his voice in public, and another man repeats the gesture with deep remorse. With a nervous sigh, Kohaku suggests that they sit quietly and talk, and the other man responds with sincere gratitude, clearly pleased with the offer. He nervously asks why she reacted so harshly, wondering why she claimed the crystals would reveal everything, his tone cautious as the shock from earlier still lingers. Saria explains that the crystal's light changes color depending on the type of demon that can be tamed and speaks carefully, with each new detail on her anxiety appears on his face. 4 shadow figures appear in the vortex of energy, calmly expounding on the system. Red is for beasts, purple is for insects, green is for creatures of the natural world, and black is reserved for dragons and other exceptional races. After this, Kohaku sits down on the sofa, and young woman apologizes for not making the nature of the phantasma clear and asks if he can accept it, while maintaining unusual restraint. Kohaku then realizes that the golden light was not mentioned anywhere in the manual, and Claire, holding the book in her hands, checks again and freezes, surprise clearly written on her face. He awkwardly admits that he mistook her for a tamer Baltizes, and apologizes, clarifying that this indicates something that has not yet been discovered. Phantasm, and also noting that he apologizes too often. Straightening up, the boy confidently declares that he can indeed tame Phantasma, and the other man exclaims in delight, insisting that he always knew it. She leans forward eagerly, asking where they are now, and then confirms that the 3 golden lights already indicate a complete taming, her excitement becoming increasingly difficult to contain. Kohaku laughs nervously, mixed with excitement, until the young woman silently watches, and behind them, a creature resembling a dog rushes across the room towards the sofa, where 2 figures are sitting. He mutters that someone is feeling creepy, a look of alarm flashes across his face, and then a voice announces that Phantasma here, repeating this moment with a tense accent. Kohaku urges Claire to remain calm and hints at the need to remove the unnecessary presence, while Saria cheerfully remarks that they breathe the same air, apparently oblivious to the tension. Saria sheepishly apologizes for her over-obsession with demons, and a boy nearby awkwardly tries to interrupt her by calling her name and threatening to leave. He considers that this is indeed in her nature. Then the girl giggles softly, leaning closer, and he silently makes it clear that he understands without insisting. The girl on the couch reacts with surprise, and the guy admits that he was relieved to be recognized as the tamer of Phantasma, after which he wonders how to prove that everyone is really present. Claire calmly replies that the solution is simple, explaining that they only need to fight the guildmaster, as a confident man follows her down the hallway. Shortly after, the action takes place in a huge circular arena surrounded by forest and city buildings, clearly marked as the arena of the Kingdom of Brumund. The girl happily approaches and offers to introduce someone, and Kohaku looks up in surprise, instantly concentrating. She then introduces the tamer guild leader, who stands beside her in calm silence, not saying a word to Kohaku. Toa introduces himself pleasantly and asks if he is the Phantasma tamer, and Kohaku nervously confirms his name, her shoulders tensing under his gaze. Finally, she laughs softly and reassures him, telling him not to be afraid, casually calling him a sweet child, and he stands tense, not knowing how to react at her calm confidence. He firmly insists that he is not a child at all, and mentions that he will be 20 years old this year. She then adds that although they appear to be about the same age, she still sees him as a child, which elicits a quiet, reflexive cry of surprise from him. Afterwards, she stands calmly in her flowing dress, reflecting on how strong Toa is as a tamer, and remembering that there are rare cases where a tamer surpasses even her own familiar. He notices the wolf lower its head to sniff the girl and quietly assesses her as strong, while the wolf casually comments on her pleasant scent and wonders out loud if he is being mistaken for a startled flying insect. He immediately snaps back angrily, stating that summoning spirits with flying insects is strictly forbidden and threatening consequences, while another presence nearby points out that everyone is simply overexcited because she can't see them. At the same time, the boy insistently asks Tova to stop running, the dog enthusiastically asks to join the chase, and the 2 girls watch this chaotic scene with amusing curiosity. When the situation calmed down a bit, Claire quietly admitted that this place represented her once-in-a-lifetime chance to finally find a decent job. Then, tilting her head curiously, she asks what he was doing just moments ago, when he snapped his fingers, standing on the steps right in front of her. He calmly explains that he was simply calling out to anyone who lingered nearby, standing confidently next to the maid, the huge wolf, and the small figure comfortably perched on his back. Claire presses her cheek to her hand and playfully remarks that phantoms are indeed invisible, expressing mild surprise mixed with admiration at the situation unfolding before her. At first he looks puzzled, but then a soft smile appears on his face when he realizes that she also sincerely believes him without any doubts. Later, standing in the arena, Kohaku listens as Claire confidently offers to introduce her demon, smoothly extending her hand as if inviting something invisible to come forward. He looks up in surprise, remembering that phantoms usually never show themselves to others because people constantly doubt their existence. The scene changes to a dragon hovering over a vast, empty coliseum, highlighting how obvious and widely accepted dragons are as real creatures. He looks slightly bruised and surprised, while the unspoken understanding remains. Everyone agrees that dragons can be seen precisely because they undoubtedly exist. A woman in a flowing dress stands calmly next to a huge dragon, her confidence unshakable, as the dragon is recognized as the most powerful of all known creatures. The boy was clearly surprised to hear the animal called a dragon, and she praised him for his intelligence and explained that this particular dragon was known as the Black Dragon. He immediately recognizes the name and thinks about the dragon hierarchy, noting that dragons are at the top, although even among them there are separate classes. It then explains that normal dragons are gray, followed by color variants such as red, blue, green, yellow, and white, and finally we return to the Black Dragon. In conclusion, it should be noted that among all dragons, the Black Dragon occupies a special place, famous for its incredible endurance and ferocity. Kohaku visibly tenses as Saria excitedly shouts about the lizard, Claire clicks her tongue at the noisy reptile, and the little girl bluntly states that it should simply be destroyed, while the dragon looms nearby. Kohaku then checks to see if everyone is confident enough to take on the dragon alone, after which Claire, Saria, and the massive wolf quietly step forward and line up in front of the towering creature without hesitation. The wolf happily repeats that it will be easy, the dark-haired man calmly agrees that it will not be difficult, and the girl casually adds that it would be more difficult for her to cut the radishes than to fight with this. After this, Kohaku warns them not to embarrass themselves, to which Claire smirks and promises to perform well, and he decides to leave this task to her this time. Meanwhile, Sufia maintains a poker face, and Claire jokingly tells her not to sulk about being passed over, and subtly calls her a puppet to provoke a reaction. A deep growl is heard, the dragon changes its position, and the long-haired girl asks if Krush-chan's opponent is there, while the boy, the maid, and the wolf watch silently from afar. A dragon jokingly calls Claire cute, another creature wonders what kind of ghost it is, and a third urges her to respond properly rather than ignore the taunt. Kohaku explains with surprise that she's a fire spirit and one of the 3 demons he made a contract with, while the long-haired girl stands confidently, clearly unsurprised by the revelation. Only then does Kohaku fully realize that she is a fire spirit, and Claire responds with a small, calm smile, as if the fact needs no further explanation. Claire calmly tells Kohaku to leave everything to her, and when he nervously asks who she thinks he is, she assures him that everything will be fine. Confirming her readiness, Claire announces that she is ready. Saria also responds confidently, and the atmosphere in the arena tenses up before the duel begins. Kohaku quickly signals Claire to begin, who responds with clear determination, while Saria reassures Krush-chan, urging her to breathe calmly as the decisive moment has finally arrived. Kohaku positions himself within a solid hexagonal protective barrier, standing unwaveringly on his feet, while Claire remains outside and acknowledges the protective spell surrounding him. She notes that the Black Dragon's breath is capable of melting steel, admitting that she never expected him to be able to block it so cleanly. The one girl stands confidently next to the stunned boy as it becomes clear that Claire is the strongest fire elemental phantasm, capable of neutralizing any fire attack. Kohaku watches closely as the girl on top of the wall orders Fufun to lower his head, warning him not to lose control and overdo it. Claire smiles weakly, whispers that she understands, and then softly addresses Krush-chan, respect and confidence evident in her tone. Stepping forward, Claire directly confronts her opponent, calling the move naive as debris scatters around her within the glowing hexagonal barrier. She suddenly freezes in surprise, realizing that this is the first time someone has managed to completely stop a Dragonclaw strike mid-attack. Both understand that the slightest mistake in calculating the magical power could destroy the barrier, and Claire laughs awkwardly, already imagining the reprimand she will receive later. Kohaku quickly signals Claire to retreat, immediately raising her hand, and a protective barrier forms between her and the approaching dragon, breaking the pressure just before it reaches her. He then wonders if the sorcery power has activated, while the other calmly explains that only humans can use this body-enhancing magic, and that demons only have one indirect way to access it. She then explains that Tala has made a pact with a tamed creature capable of enhancing magic, allowing her to use this power through the bond without limitation. He immediately tells Claire that it's their turn now, and she confidently responds, inviting him to leave everything to her, and without hesitation, rushes forward. Kohaku then releases a powerful blast of energy, raising his voice, and the attack manifests as a roaring breath that rushes towards the battlefield. In the midst of the fight, Claire explains that Phantasma can emit a breath comparable to a dragon's, allowing her to block every incoming blow as a dark dragon-like figure looms before them. Kohaku briefly wonders if fire spirits can freely manipulate flames, and Claire confirms that they can control the fire itself, including regulating its temperature at will. He reacts with an indifferent look, and she confidently warns him not to get too carried away by the fact that things are going well. A few moments later, Kohaku looks at the flying dragon, and Claire, comfortably settled next to him, laughs and smiles, amused by what is happening. Claire admits with a confident smile that she didn't expect such strength from phantasms and that she still has room to grow, and Kohaku looks at her with obvious surprise. Kohaku insists he is the strongest. Claire calmly counters that they are equal. Soraya muses out loud about the remaining two, and the wolf states that he only cares about being number one to Kohaku. She then tells the dragon that there is nothing to complain about and asks for his consent, casually referring to him as Crush-chan until the tension subsides. A girl in a long dress warmly invites a young man to join the Tamers Guild as a hunter, while the wolf, the maid, and the others stand nearby, silently watching. Later, he sits alone in the guild master's room, recalling the past trials and wondering where Kohaku might be at this moment. The room itself is unusual. It lacks the ornate decorations typical of other similar places. A chandelier hangs overhead, and two plush toys are oddly arranged on the dresser. He apologizes for the wait, noting the contrast, thinking the smell is more like alcohol than sweetness, and noticing a knife casually stuck in the door. Claire passes the plate across the table, and the shy young man thanks her awkwardly, stealing glances at her as she quietly thinks he is still incredibly handsome. He reflects that this is the first time a woman, other than Suifia and Claire, has treated him with kindness, and she smiles softly from the opposite direction. Crush-chan reassures her companion that he shouldn't be nervous and jokes that he could swallow him whole, which causes him to laugh when he asks if she's serious. Tawa smiles warmly and offers a cookie. Coco points excitedly to the chocolate chip, and the others react with a mixture of mild reproach and cheerful acceptance. Kohaku notices the cookies disappearing on their own and briefly suspects Phantasma. Then Claire admits to taking them without asking and adds that everyone is happily eating them, causing the quiet room to suddenly become lively. He is surprised to learn that the sweets are handmade, and she happily explains that she baked them herself and says she would be glad if they were liked, after which he decides to try one. Kohaku leans back, slightly stunned that everything is already eaten, while Claire burps contentedly and says she's full, and Surya excitedly encourages everyone to keep eating. Then Suifia, referring to Kohaku, assures the master that there is no need to worry, explaining that she has already secured a separate part for herself, and the master, slightly sweating, calmly accepts it, thinking that this is indeed typical for with Hufi. Kohaku suddenly perks up and blurts out that the drink in his hand is incredibly delicious, his tone brightening and the warmth of the moment spreading throughout the room. He enthusiastically adds that the cookies are also incredibly delicious, and she smiles quietly with pride, pleased that he liked them, the clock and cup nearby keeping track of the time. Afterwards, she asks if they can finally talk now that everyone has relaxed, and he hesitantly agrees, saying that everything is fine and asks her to continue. He then notices the brooch and asks about it, to which she calmly explains that it serves as proof of his membership in the Tamers Guild. Kohaku looks closely at the bronze plate and ponders its rank, mentally recalling the order of metals, starting from iron and ending with more complex metals. She calmly replies that he managed to directly fight Crush-chan, and, sitting calmly in an elegant dress, takes the question for granted. He nervously asks if she's really sure, and she cheerfully replies that as a special exception, he will begin training as a member of the bronze plate. Kohaku remembers the 7 long years spent running between guilds in search of recognition as a tamer, and clutches the round emblem tighter in his hands. He then asks if she is actually a sorceress and not a tamer, noting that the flames resemble witchcraft magic and recalling how often others have told him the same thing. The memories intensify as Kohaku tenses. Someone accusingly points at him, calling him an incompetent tamer of lies, while others insist that the phantasms are fictitious and non-existent creatures. Someone clutches a small object tightly, reflecting on how perhaps all these 7 years have been spent just to live to this single moment. The frame shows a man, kneeling and speaking tenderly to a little boy, leaving one with the thought that he achieved all this thanks to the words of his father. The boy looks to the future with quiet hope, realizing that without these words guiding him, he would never have felt such confidence. Claire then gently takes Kohaku's hand, asking him to accept her support on behalf of Towa Arahime, and sincerely promising that she will support him. Then she smiles calmly and confidently, assuring him that she will not allow anyone to humiliate him again. He was stunned and unsure how to react, so he froze when someone quickly asked him to calm down, saying belly dancing would help, and encouraged him to touch, lower himself, and beg, ending the moment in absurd confusion. Finally, he breaks down and starts crying loudly, and she gently tells him that if letting out all his emotions makes him feel better, then he should cry as much as he needs to. Sophia quietly apologizes nearby, and Claire, standing next to the large furry creature, asks if the situation has calmed down, her expression bright and reassuring despite the lingering tension. Kohaku remains seated as Claire gently strokes his head, then Soraya mutters something about when it will stop, and Sophia calmly tells him to relax, adding that being kind means the other person is truly good. After that, she awkwardly offers to spoil Hergo when he wants, and he blushes slightly, quietly thanks him and insists that he is fine as is. He reluctantly admits that he appreciates the gesture, but also admits that he can't allow himself to be tempted again, as his thoughts are still clouded by everything that happened earlier. Claire then asks Kohaku to stand up, and he nervously responds, rising to his feet and looking to her for support. He suddenly reacts to the pleasant smell, a look of surprise crossing his face as Claire and Soraya watch him silently, and Claire suggests they look in the mirror after someone has made sure the preparations are complete. Kohaku tries on his new outfit while Claire adjusts his backside, and Soraya, the furry creature, and Sophia enthusiastically praise him, causing his face to fill with undeniable happiness. Claire then explains that he can start taking orders immediately and advises him to gather detailed information from Soraya, after which he sincerely thanks her and promises to do his best. Then Clara congratulates Kohaku on successfully passing the exam and offers to start working together, and joyfully rejoices, clearly pleased with the result. Claire then asks how familiar he is with the guild's duties and explains that guild members handle citizens' requests, to which he nods, confirming that this is in line with his general understanding. The documents specify that work with the bronze plate will primarily consist of searching, collecting materials, and destroying minor demons as requests come in. Kohaku listens intently as Claire adds that bronze-ranked members are allowed to destroy weaker demons. Her confidence makes this explanation seem more reassuring than frightening. He asks if iron plates can also exorcise demons, and she explains that iron ranks are beginners who focus only on resource gathering and resource finding tasks. Then he realizes how the gradual promotion takes place, starting from the lowest rank and rising upwards, and his face lights up with calm and confidence. Claire offers him the opportunity to entrust her with the task of slaying demons if he wishes, but he replies that, despite his bronze status, he prefers to start by searching and gathering resources in order to better understand the guild. Kohaku explains that each request represents a person in need, speaking softly but firmly, showing that his motivation goes beyond rank or reward. Claire admits that she too wants to help people, even if her contribution is small and her voice is full of a firm, quiet determination. They discuss how previous bronze medal winners got their start, then one suggests choosing a well-paying job, another suggests leaving herbal work for iron blades, and a third muses that she's never met anyone like her before. Kohaku smiles softly and calls her a kind person, noticing a hint of sadness in her eyes. She then offers to explain how to accept the request, gesturing for him to follow her. The girl explains to the boy that requests for gold rank and above must be processed at the reception desk due to the associated danger, while requests for iron, bronze, and silver can be freely taken here on the notice board. Nearby posters list ongoing tasks such as gathering herbs, mining iron, and finding a runaway horse, making it clear that these mundane tasks form the basis of the guild's stable operations. One notice in particular stands out, ordering an investigation into the spider lily colony and the extermination of 10 goblins. Its wording is straightforward and practical, reflecting the constant threat looming over the city's safety. After checking the notice board, Kohaku decides to start by collecting herbs, and Claire readily agrees, offering to confirm his request at the front desk first before heading out. Elsewhere, a man reports that Soraya wrote that they had already gone out to gather herbs, and the woman listening to him quietly laughs, noting that such haste suits him very well. During the preparation process, Claire asks how many herbs are needed, and Kohaku replies that the more the better, as they are essential ingredients for restorative medicine and never go to waste. In the field, Soraya wonders out loud how to tell one herb from another if all the grass looks the same, and Kohaku replies that it will be fine, and the maid next to him calmly agrees. A detection field spreads silently across the forest clearing, and one of them thanks Sophia for activating it as they stand together among the tall grass and tall trees. Suddenly, Kohaku excitedly points to the red grass, urging Claire to look, and she immediately reacts, her attention instantly shifting to the faint, yet unmistakable light. After a few moments, they confirm that it is the herb they were looking for, hidden in the dense vegetation. Its glow clearly indicates it once they realize what they are looking for. Kohaku then orders Claire to rise into the air and collect the items, and she asks if she can just pull them out, wondering about the correct method. As they continue on their way, Kohaku points out another plant with a pleasant scent, and the large dog enthusiastically calls his name, drawing his attention to what she has found. He explains that this herb is superior because it has undergone a transformation into a higher quality form, and the other asks Sufia what it is, immediately sensing its value. Kohaku smiles and assures them that the find is excellent, and the fox-like companions ask if they are doing well, clearly engrossed in their task. Then he orders everyone to divide the bags and collect more, saying that there is no such thing as too much greenery, and the others readily agree and disperse. Later, Saria turns around in surprise when someone greets her, announcing their return, the sudden voice breaking the quiet rhythm of work. Back at the guild, Claire greets Kohaku and notes that even resource-gathering quests can be tiring, and he, exhausted, admits that working with all those iron plates in one day is commendable. Kohaku asks Saraya where to put the herbs, and she tells him to put them there, offering to evaluate everything with his skills once they are sorted. He explains that his friend was carrying most of the load on his back, which makes Claire wonder where all that weight came from. Finally, holding a large bag in his hands, he nervously confirms that it is all herbs, and she looks at the contents with obvious surprise, clearly not expecting such a volume. Kohaku enthusiastically explains that each bag contains only herbs, and Claire is then surprised to realize that the entire bag is filled exclusively with the highest quality plants. Afterwards, Kohaku awkwardly adds that the reason is hard to explain and has to do with the companion's power, and Claire, still stunned, wonders why there are so many rare herbs here. Zan behind the counter, the girl answers the man standing in front of her, mentioning the reputation of Phantasma. Their conversation attracts quiet attention. The man then gives a serious expression of gratitude for the bountiful harvest, and the boy in the school uniform explains that the best herbs are different from those requested, after which the people around nod. She goes on to note that the high-quality herbs are now virtually indistinguishable from the regular ones, and that even their collectible rating has increased, expressing gratitude for receiving a whole bag. Hearing this, Kohaku relaxes a little and says he's glad, while the other listens silently, acknowledging the situation without further comment. Meanwhile, the maid agrees to handle the exchange and asks for patience as it may take time, while the large dog next to her enthusiastically encourages her to continue. Claire then boldly takes all the credit for their success, to which Sufia calmly points out that trying to take all the credit is shameless. Kohaku confidently counters that without her scanning ability, none of this would have happened, and Claire counters that she was the one doing the flying and collecting, explaining the huge number of items. Suddenly, Saria growled in irritation, wanting to inflict an unexpected blow, while Kohaku doesn't see, but the girl remains unperturbed and indifferent, responding only with a sharp exhalation. Nearby, a tense figure clenches his fist and declares that he will not accept such a weak man, while another stands to the side, sobbing nervously under the pressure. Then one man taunts the other, calling him a liar, and not the tamer of fantasies, and the second one visibly tenses up with embarrassment. Kohaku calmly intervenes, insisting that he is not lying and that Towa has already given his consent, his tone remaining firm despite the whispers around him. The mocked man flushes with anger and shame, wondering how anyone could dare to address the guild leader by his first name so casually. Watching this, Kohaku decides that the drunk is out of his mind and shouldn't be talked to, while the other man angrily barks, demanding to know whose side he is on. Kohaku silently approaches the window, and soon a confident young man challenges him to a familiar duel, while a nervous girl stands next to him. Suddenly, someone explains with concern that personal fights between guild members are forbidden, hinting at uneasiness as tensions mount. Kohaku firmly replies that forbidden actions cannot be performed, emphasizing the rules by addressing the challenger directly. He then confidently adds that it's impossible to fight him anyway, since he doesn't have any demons, and Claire intervenes, emphasizing that it's a matter of rules, not abilities. Finally, Sufia calmly steps forward with Claire hovering behind her, and the huge armored wolf growls furiously, the word destroy echoing through the space, filling it with menace. He nervously insists that he can't do it, asking if he was even listening, and then the man openly mocks him, implying that fear has finally caught up with him. Kohaku suddenly notices a tiny dragon sitting on his arm, and blurts out a question about whether it belongs to Tawa, while Claire, overjoyed, recognizes it as Crash, and Sufia stands silently behind them. Holding the small dragon in her hands, Kohaku is surprised by him size, then Claire, seen from behind, dryly asks what fool is sowing discord in her guild, while the dragon lets out a low warning growl. A dragon circles in the air above them, then the girl greets Kohaku warmly, while the dark-haired man primly addresses her as Towa, attracting the attention of a small crowd nearby. Claire asks for an explanation with a slight smile, and Kohaku awkwardly answers in the affirmative, immediately sensing that someone present is clearly unhappy. Standing next to Kohaku, Claire calmly and confidently explains that he is a true phantasm tamer who is worthy of fought with Crush, while the sweaty man quickly insists that any objections to guild membership be directed at him. Tova firmly asks if her judgment is being challenged, and one boy falters and the other two fall silent, the tension in the room rising. The bruised man looks down, worried, then the reserved woman in the elegant dress asks if he's asking her questions, catching the dark-haired young man standing next to her off guard. Kohaku feels a lot of pressure and bows an apology, then Claire gently praises him as a good boy and he raises his hand and says that this is enough, turning to Tova. Claire adds a warm smile and explains that her words are meant to prevent a similar situation from happening again in the future. The girl calmly reminds everyone that personal fights between guild members are prohibited, to which the guy responds by asking if this rule applies to him too. Claire tilts her head and smiles softly, noting that it's an interesting question, her tone calm yet meaningful. Soon after, the girl thanks them for waiting and asks if there were any problems. Then the man says that the exchange is over and offers to move to another room, to which the woman readily agrees. On the tray are coins and a bag, and it is explained that 100 kilograms of herbs are exchanged for 10 silver and 5 copper coins. Kohaku explains the exchange rates for copper, silver, gold, and platinum, then hears a question about converting copper to silver and realizes that 1 kilogram of herbs is equal to 10 copper coins. The mention of 4 gold coins makes him surprised, and then he learns out of nowhere that 40 kilograms of high-quality herbs can be exchanged for 1 gold coin. The clerk asks if he would like to fulfill one more request, and he replies that he is thinking about finding a hotel, at which point she offers her assistance if needed. Claire calls out to him saying she was hungry, and Saria notices that it looks like she's been eating a lot since she left the guild, while the guy silently watches the proceedings. He thinks to himself that she certainly eats a lot, and then suggests that they look for food and everyday goods, and another girl hints at the first one's excess weight. Kohaku quickly asks Claire to be patient for a little while and promises that once they find a place to live, she can eat whatever she wants, and she immediately perks up, saying that she likes that about him. Kohaku looks at the listed price and silently wonders if this hotel is expensive. Then Sufia calmly confirms that it is a standard accommodation, adding that breakfast and dinner are included, making the offer more reasonable. After this, Kohaku calculates that a bronze-ranked participant capable of completing elimination tasks barely has enough money for such accommodation, but 2 meals a day per night seems quite acceptable, and the balance between cost and benefit dispels his doubts. He then nods in response to Claire's offer to stay, understanding her, and together they prepare to leave, already heading off to rest after a long day. At the Fleur Hotel, they are greeted by a friendly hostess. The man inquires about available rooms, and the girl declares that she will stay for now without hesitation, and without hesitation places 10 silver coins on the counter. Girl counts the coins in his head, realizing that 10 silver coins equal 40 nights, and then recalculates that 50 copper coins per night means that 1 silver coin is enough for 2 full days. He politely apologized, and the girl brushed off the apology, while the girl shyly clung to her skirt. The girl politely asks his name, and he answers, Kohaku. Then she offers to show them to the room. Nearby, a man asks for help, the girl readily shows him the way, and the maid instructs Federica to take him to room 2005, after which silence falls in the lobby. Soraya asks if he plans to sniff the clothes again, then he thanks Sufia, who makes a lighthearted comment on Kohaku's outfit, and the mood lightens with the usual banter. Kohaku sits on the bed, his brow furrowed. Claire comes closer, asking why he suddenly stopped, and Soraya watches him from behind with a slow, attentive calm. Soon after, 3 people greet him warmly, expressing their support and a clear intention to work with him in the future, and for a moment, the room is filled with a shared determination. Claire asks about his plans for tomorrow, and he replies that he will complete the iron ore mining mission in the morning, and then, if there is time left, he will attempt the target assassination mission. She asks for a target to destroy that has bones in it, and he pauses, repeating the detail, as if confirming whether she really does mean something skeletal. That night, 2 silhouettes stood on the bridge overlooking the city, one of which noticed that the Phantasma Tamer had officially joined the Tamers Guild. Kohaku asks Asher for his opinion, and he answers calmly and deliberately, suggesting they wait and see what happens next. They both lean against the railing under the quiet sky. Boy, he ponders, and the blonde admits his curiosity, expressing a desire to meet the Tamer if the rumors turn out to be true. Later, she explains that there are 2 active requests for iron ore deposits, naming the Blios and Raison mines, and he listens intently, memorizing the details. Kohaku immediately announces that he has chosen the Raison mine, and Soraya reacts with surprise, clearly not expecting such a quick decision. Holding the request form in hand, Kohaku says that this only strengthens their plan, his posture unwavering and his motivation clear as the next steps become clear. He adds that it was precisely to solve the iron shortage problem that he joined the guild, and Sufi peers over the wall and humbly salutes, believing that this is ideal for her master. Kohaku closes his eyes. A small smile appears on his face, and he accepts the situation calmly. His acceptance comes naturally as the moment passes and the next task quietly forms in his thoughts. When he crosses the threshold, she greets him with a friendly look. He calls her Frederica-chan, and she immediately asks how she can help, ready to provide any necessary assistance. He explains that due to a guild mission, he'll have to leave for a few days, starting tomorrow, and asks if she can prepare food for the journey. He then listens to her agreement and asks about the required quantity. He carefully counts the food supplies, noting that since Sophia eats nothing, 3 days will be enough for Claire and Fenrir, and she confidently assures him that everything will be eaten without leaving anything. Afterwards, he asks if 28 portions will be enough, and she answers enthusiastically, repeating the number with confidence, as if already mentally planning the portions. Thangirl begins to worry about the distance and damage to the goods, asking how far he is going, to which he calmly replies that the destination is not so far away as to cause any concern. Kohaku reassures her with a soft smile, explaining that everything will be fine as all the food will be eaten within 3 days, leaving no room for waste or worry. When 3 days are mentioned, the girl reacts with obvious shock, nervously declares that she will consult with her father, and then, with decisive haste, gets ready to run away. She soon returns, apologizing for the wait, and he asks about the cost, listening carefully to her explanation of the extra expense, but the possibility of preparing 28 servings of boxed meals. She goes over the numbers carefully, explaining that 1 serving costs 25 copper coins times 28, then adds that additional fees increase the total price by 1.2 times. One girl confidently announces the total 16 silver and 80 copper coins, and the other girl calmly corrects 8 silver and 40 copper coins. Both smile when the counting is complete. The next morning, as Fen had predicted, they arrived at the Ryzen mine exactly 2 hours later, one man kneeling with a sack, the other next to the horse to the cave entrance. The wolf reports that there are no strange smells or gas in the cave, the girl confirms that there are no people there, and Kohaku thanks them both, feeling relieved by the clear weather. Kohaku announces their arrival as they enter the cave. Claire gestures forward and leads them, and deeper into the cave, figures and a dog approach a glowing mining site. She states that she will deploy a detection field. He readily agrees, then assigns roles in collecting ore and excavating, and the confident companion volunteers without hesitation. As the work begins, he admits that the task has proven more difficult than expected, his hands shaking slightly with the strain as he realizes that mining requires much more effort than anticipated. Nearby, a dog digs a hole with uncontrollable enthusiasm, while her dark-haired companion watches silently, clearly unimpressed and unsure how to respond to such boundless energy. Kohaku thinks it would be quicker to hand over all the excavations to Fenrir, and after briefly chuckling at the thought, realizes that efficiency seems more appealing. He then shakes his head emphatically, insisting that he cannot rely solely on others, stating that he must contribute as their master despite physical suffering. Finally, he is informed that the 4th bag is already full, and he understands that the work will be finished tomorrow, not in 3 days, feeling a sense of gratitude, sensing someone's presence nearby. She notices that whatever they sensed is getting closer, and in response he looks up, wary and attentive, instantly focusing on the subtle change in the air around the cave. As they continue down the tunnel, they come to the conclusion that their opponents are not from the Tamers Guild, but silently admit that the presence ahead seems unusually strong to outsiders. Kohaku briefly wonders what kind of person Sophia really is, remembering her words as she confidently moves deeper into the semi-darkness of the cave, and he follows her a few steps. Kohaku then senses the presence of a person ahead and mentions it, which prompts Claire to question Cole about his previous statement until he reluctantly admits that there is indeed one person inside. He notices a brooch on the chest ahead and instantly recognizes it as the symbol of the Battle Guild, while wondering what the unfamiliar color might mean. Kohaku realizes he's been staring for too long and tenses slightly, and Claire notices this and responds with a confident, understanding smile that lightens the mood. He quickly apologizes for startling them and explains that they have also come to mine iron ore, which leaves the others mildly surprised as the misunderstanding is cleared up. Dark-haired guy makes a short, enlightened sound, and the blonde calmly asks if he can share the material he has obtained with them. One of them points to a large pile of rocks, offering to take some from there, and the other simply replies that everything will be fine. The bald man angrily points out that the entire pile is iron ore, and the bespectacled man calmly asks if he can take a little, given the high purity of the ore. Kohaku expresses sincere gratitude for the help and mentions wanting to repay in some way, while the other admits that Kohaku has already helped enough. He then offers to help with anything they might need, speaking carefully, his posture suggesting a mixture of nervousness and genuine goodwill. The fair-haired man smiles, but the dark-haired man quietly feels that the expression lacks warmth and is a little forced. She calmly explains that some of the Battle Guild members are hot-tempered, and the man behind her adds that they can meet with the guild again and gives advice in advance. Kohaku calms down, reminding herself that there is nothing to be afraid of, and politely declines further concerns, saying that she appreciates them but will handle them. Claire and Saria quietly prepare for battle. Sophie asks if there is anything that needs to be gotten rid of. Boy looks confused, and the hot-tempered girl complains that someone is interfering with her work. The fair-haired man confirms the information, and the dark-haired companion nods, suggesting that they drop by Alex's battle guild if anything happens. The young man introduces himself as Osher and confidently states that it is enough to simply ask to talk to him so that others will listen. Kohaku bows deeply, relieved that the conflict has passed, while Claire and the large dog remain quietly behind him, Claire quietly expressing gratitude for meeting reasonable people. In the end, Kohaku finds himself upside down and completely exhausted, wondering why his body is so drained, but despite the urge to continue, he still forces himself to move forward. The man with glasses asks if anyone noticed the sign on the jacket, mentioning something left behind, and the other confirms this, both speaking quietly as they move deeper into the cave. The bespectacled man adds that the bronze plate belongs to the Tamers Guild, while the rest of the group remains further into the cave, quietly listening and exchanging brief glances. Kohaku mentions that she recently heard a strange rumor about the Tamers Guild, where they witnessed strange events while observing the vast, harsh landscape stretching out into the open. One man reacts in shock to the mention of the ghost tamer, wondering if it is just a myth, while a man with glasses listens and another calmly explains at the entrance to the cave. He adds that the man is officially a hunter of the Tamers Guild, emphasizing the point once again as the others silently consider what they have heard. Kohaku stands alone in the barren landscape, noticing that no one he knows is around him, and the emptiness surrounding him only adds to the strangeness of the situation. The bald man doubts there is any proof, and the other explains that tamers cannot accept requests without a familiar, then wonders out loud if the man might actually be a phantasm tamer. One of them offers to tell him directly, but the blonde man refuses, saying that they should wait and see what happens, then turns and goes deeper into the cave. Kohaku remarks that they still don't know how long he will be inside, while Claire, the wolf, and Soraya sit quietly nearby in the deserted landscape. Three figures gather at the entrance to the cave, one of whom remarks that if he even made it this far, then something important must have already happened here. The blonde man confidently states that they can help him if needed, while the bald man and the man with glasses listen with focused, determined expressions on their faces. Kohaku happily praises Fen for moving forward smoothly, while Claire warns Fenrir to hold back and not throw dirt at their master, vigorously digging the ground. The boy calms down the worried woman dog, saying that she is doing well and responding kindly to her persistent question about whether she is helping her. The maid remarks that he is spoiling Fenrir too much. The dog wags his tail happily, and the boy reacts to her remark with slight surprise. He awkwardly admits that he just wants everyone to be comfortable, but she quickly interrupts, nervously asking if there's anything she can do to help too. Kohaku excitedly tells Ku that something has opened, to which Ku asks in surprise what exactly has opened, while Sufia calmly watches them. Sufia points to a large hole with a serious expression, and Kohaku, holding a huge crystal in her hands, clearly confused, asks what she means. Kohaku notes that yesterday they thought they had dug deep enough, but Claire points out that there is still a lot of work to do, implying that the excavation is far from complete. He suggests they head to the big pit after collecting most of the nearby iron ore, and she agrees to the plan with understanding. Kohaku and Soraya enter a massive cave, Soraya pointing out its colossal size, and Kohaku looking up in awe, marveling at the strange formation on the ceiling. He notices that there is a strange, unpleasant smell in the air and points it out, after which she warns him to be on guard, and the dog confidently states that she will protect him by staying close. He suggests that it's best to retreat now, but she calmly replies that by the time they get there, whatever was here will most likely have already awakened. He freezes in shock, becomes nervous, wondering what they could have disturbed, and then insists that it would be safer to win immediately than to hesitate. Kohaku recoils in disgust and surprise as a huge, grotesque spider appears, its massive body looming over him, its mouth gaping wide, and he instinctively thinks how disgusting it looks. A A short, fair-haired man looks stunned. Another, wearing glasses, confirms the situation, and a bald man, clutching a wrapped object tightly in his hands, wonders if someone has entered the danger zone. 3 figures rush towards the glowing entrance to the cave, one of them muttering incredulously how anyone could have reached such a place in just one day. Kohaku reacts with a shocked refusal, and Boy expresses concern and understanding on his face. They concluded that such a huge amount of iron ore was beyond the reach of a single person, and although Cole did not notice, they were certain that he had a familiar with him. Kohaku struggles up the rocky slope, frustrated that one day wasn't enough, and another guy warns Cole and Rowan that even with a familiar, Ted the Demon is not easy to defeat. Kohaku urgently orders everyone to prepare for battle. Claire and the bald man rush forward, and somewhere nearby, a quiet voice seems to beg for mercy. The group watches as the heat and flames swirl. A voice urges them to stay away, and Kohaku, Claire, and the bald man watch in shock at the stunning sight. Sufi warns them not to let their guard down. Claire doubts that Fenrir can handle it alone, and Fenrir boldly declares that the enemy is too weak to pose a real threat. Young woman interrupts sharply, insisting that she can hear everything perfectly well, while Claire calmly remarks that it would be better if someone got eaten there, creating an awkward tension. He quickly tries to calm them both down, but she angrily blurts out that spiders like to eat insects, startling the other girl with her abrupt statement. Blonde raises his hand in greeting, addressing Cole-san and Rowan-san, while the dark-haired young man looks surprised and turns to call out to Usher-san. The fair-haired man kindly assures them that they didn't come to fight, while the dark-haired man looks confused, wondering since when this has been the case. Kohaku reacts with surprise when Claire and the others explain that they are there specifically to deal with a demon lurking in the area. One of them explains that the place was declared a danger zone that very morning, and now their task is to destroy the demon responsible for it. Kohaku calmly explains that the danger zone is an area marked by hunters with detection abilities as a high-risk area to warn others of serious threats. Under a full moon, a powerful waterfall crashes against a rocky cliff, evoking images of other deadly places such as erupting volcanoes, raging rivers, and lightning-struck islands where powerful demons dwell. He admits it may sound like an excuse, but he never imagined she could get to such a place in just one day. His tone was one of genuine surprise, not denial. The previous evening, the boy had enthusiastically suggested digging deeper after the mining operation was completed, but the dog had stubbornly insisted on being left alone and allowed to dig, while the dark-haired guy he watched what was happening, tired and clearly dissatisfied. Before Kohaku sincerely apologized for that, what a guy put the others in danger by provoking the demon and quietly asks him to forgive him, thereby easing the tension between them. The dark-haired boy explains that the incident happened because he was digging too much, while the fair-haired boy hesitates, thinking he got carried away, and the boy firmly insists that it was never the other's fault. Kohaku suggests they consider it done, to which the dark-haired man nervously admits he needs to think about it, and then calmly accepts the offer, quietly agreeing. He cautiously asks the dark-haired man if he is a phantasm tamer, while the other two stand slightly behind him in the rocky cave, silently watching the conversation. Kohaku hesitates, but Blonde assures him that there is nothing to hide, explaining that she has already heard rumors that the tamer Phantasm has joined the Tamers Guild. The man looks scared and raises his hand slightly, wondering how the others knew it was him and how such rumors could have spread so quickly. He quietly recalls that it all started with his meeting with him the day before, his expression soft and thoughtful as he puts together the events that led to this moment. The Tamer's Guild brooch lies on a folded jacket, and the voice first expresses surprise that it didn't recognize anyone, and then admits that just a few moments ago it was convinced of its existence. Kohaku, Claire, and Saria stand together, looking at the powerful vortex force, while Kohaku reflects on the crushing power that completely crushed the giant spider. He admits that there was definitely something there that he couldn't see, and his face is a mixture of lingering surprise and quiet alarm as he studies the implications. Kohaku hesitates, then admits that he is a phantasma tamer and a current member of Tawasan's guild, thinking that he can finally say it openly. Kohaku appears with renewed energy and Hondrax with amazement to the unexpected meeting with the legendary phantasm tamer in such a place. The young man introduces himself as Usher Kreutz, proudly declaring that he is a swordsman from the Battle Guild, his confident smile piercing and full of self-assurance. Kohaku nervously introduces himself in return, then Rowan Barrett confidently greets him, followed by Ian and Cole Magicalia, who mention that they are also from the Battle Guild. The two figures silently discuss how surprising it is to see silver plates in the danger zone, noting that the members of the Martial Guild must have a high level of skill. One man laughs, saying it must have been hard to see in the darkness, and a woman in glasses calmly asks for confirmation about the supposed silver plate. The blonde man confidently corrects them, explaining that they are mithril plates, while the bald man and the man with glasses stand next to him, not reacting at all. Kohaku visibly sweated, his eyes widening in shock as he realized that the hunters standing there were members of the Battle Chest Guard Guild in mithril armor. The bald man bursts out laughing, saying he finally gets it, and the others quickly apologize, assuring him that everything is fine, with one of them calmly adding that they were planning to meet later anyway. A blonde man casually invites Kohaku to join the Battle Guild, offering a one-year contract worth 50 platinum coins, and Kohaku freezes, clearly stunned and unsure how to respond to such an offer. At the mention of platinum coins, Claire visibly flinches, and the large, furry creature confidently promises that anyone who joins will immediately receive a mithril plate. She calmly adds that orders are always properly paid, and her calm expression makes it clear that this is standard practice and not an empty promise. He explains that he came here because Tawa noticed him, and he feels genuine gratitude towards the guild members who welcomed him warmly, though he has yet to repay them for this kindness. Kohaku gently acknowledges these feelings, saying they are important, but firmly insists that everything is fine now and stands silently, leaning against the rough stone walls of the cave. Suddenly remembering something important, Ashur interrupts himself and tells everyone that he absolutely must share something with them before anything goes on. They gather at the cave entrance, examining the shattered remains of the crystalline body Death Spider, one of them calmly explaining its nature as the fragments shimmer on the ground. Kohaku peeks out cautiously from behind the enormous crystal and asks if a magic crystal is different from a magic stone, curiosity clearly overcoming his previous tension. The bespectacled man explains that magic stones are formed within living demons, and magic crystals are crystallized magical power released after the demon's death, and patiently converses with the dark-haired listener. The space is filled with floating crystals, and it is explained that a crystal of this size likely contains the accumulated magic of thousands of demons, making its value and danger immediately obvious. The bald man insists that they take as much as possible, while the dark-haired man questions the validity of the request, and the blonde man listens silently with his eyes closed. The blonde man explains that since Kohaku defeated him, he can sell the crystal or use it to forge a magical weapon, and the bald man nods with obvious interest. Boy asks if this is some kind of test, and the bald man admits that they are testing whether he will succumb to the influence of money or fame. Kohaku apologizes with an awkward smile, and Ashur assures him that a choice made with the heart, and not greed, proves that there is nothing to worry about. The group discusses the rules against poaching members from other guilds, and one member calmly asks what would happen if their offer was accepted. A man with glasses makes a crude joke about how he will kneel down and lick the guild leader's boots, causing the others to laugh while the one he is making fun of plays along. Kohaku smiles calmly, and Ashur stands before a lingering vortex of energy and admits that he wants to see this force up close with his own eyes. Kohaku hesitates, wondering what to say, and then firmly states that he doesn't work for money, confirming his resolve when the girl quietly asks if he's really sure. The calm woman encourages him to remain righteous. The dog enthusiastically inspires him with courage, and the determined girl tells him to stay strong, their voices forming a quiet but powerful support behind him. Kohaku returns and calls out to Saria, and she immediately recognizes his voice, turning around in surprise, a mixture of relief and tension on her face after finally seeing him safely back. Claire leans closer, hastily checking to see if he's okay, while Kohaku nervously asks what's wrong, clearly confused by the sudden emotional reactions of those around him. The girl quickly explains that 2 days ago, a report was received of a powerful demon in the Ryzen mine, and that mithril hunters from the Battle Guild were sent there, while the boy at the table listens intently. She wipes away her tears and admits that she has been worried about Kohaku's whereabouts for 3 days now, fearing that he might have encountered a deadly demon during the mission. Kohaku asks if they thought he turned around halfway through, and Claire, still worried, wonders why he's looking away, while he quickly denies it with an awkward expression. Someone blurts out a question in shock. Wasn't it Kohaku who defeated the Death Spider that appeared in the danger zone? Kohaku humbly explains that this achievement belongs to everyone involved, while the maid sits quietly nearby and a large furry creature proudly looks out from behind the confident girl standing on the sofa. Kohaku suddenly realizes that with the help of the phantoms, something important about his path and role is finally becoming clear to him. One person slams their hand down on the table, insisting that it doesn't make sense, while the other calmly replies that logic isn't what they should be focusing on right now. Kohaku ponders silently as Claire leans on the table, explaining that hunters are constantly faced with death and must hone their sense of danger and critical thinking to survive. Kohaku strongly emphasizes that when a person senses real danger, he must run away, because his life belongs only to him and exists only once in this world. He apologizes for raising his voice, admitting that he was emotional at the time. Kohaku then smiles softly and expresses her gratitude by simply saying a sincere thank you. He apologizes for crying earlier, and Claire calmly confirms that he plans to create a magical weapon, bringing the conversation back to practical matters. One gives instructions to collect the necessary materials from the mine, and the rest will be delivered later, and the other responds with a clear confirmation of receipt. Kohaku happily decides to take some iron ore and the magic crystal, causing her to let out a surprised exclamation. The mention of a magic crystal surprised me. Girl, and the other two explained that the iron ore was mine to order, and the crystal was given to him after defeating the Death Spider. He confidently holds two materials in his hands, noting their exceptional purity, while the cheerful creature calls him master, and the others react with surprise and concern. Young woman asks for 2 hours to evaluate numerous items, allowing others to do whatever they want in the meantime, and the young man readily agrees. Kohaku listens to Sufia's story about a famous blacksmith named Zack from a neighboring town, then wonders out loud what kind of person Zack is, after which he sincerely thanks her. Sufia explains that magical weapons store magical power, citing the example of a sword that fires a fireball without consuming mana, and emphasizes that choosing the right weapon first and foremost determines all subsequent actions. Kohaku understands that there are countless types of weapons, but without the appropriate skill, they are meaningless. While the girl calmly explains that she has already analyzed his development rate, abilities, and overall combat potential. Below, the blacksmith town of Flamelin spreads out, its rows of rooftops framed by distant mountains and drifting clouds, giving the place a quiet, industrious atmosphere shaped by heat, metal, and relentless toil. Kohaku and his girlfriend strolling along busy streets. Young woman enjoying the energetic atmosphere, Kohaku notices a crowd ahead and wonders why there are so many people, prompting her to suggest they take a look inside. Kohaku watches in surprise as Sufia explains that the item on display is a magical weapon, and nearby voices announce that the next demonstration is about to begin, drawing even more attention from the crowd. The crowd erupts in cheers, welcoming the incredible magical weapon, while Kohaku watches the scene with wide eyes, clearly intrigued by the spectacle unfolding before him. Kohaku mutters that it looks incredible, while Claire confidently states that she could do the same, and the maid dryly remarks that without the proper skill, she is nothing more than a flying bug, which further escalates their bickering. Kohaku quickly tells them to stop arguing and suggests they go straight to Zakusu-san, while the two girls continue to argue loudly under the calm supervision of the maid. The man watches as Kohaku runs away confidently, then Kohaku turns around with a smirk and a raised fist, leaving the man wondering if he heard Zack's name out loud. Kohaku, Claire, and another companion approach the blacksmith's dilapidated house. Claire is perplexed by its dilapidated state, while Kohaku happily explains that its rough exterior is part of its true charm. Kohaku knocks and asks if Zaku-san is home, and the girls behind him silently note that they don't sense anyone inside, adding to the uneasy silence. Noticing that the door is unlocked, Kohaku apologizes for intruding during his break and politely states that he came to request that a weapon be made. The young man inside looks up in surprise and asks who is there, then notices a smoking axe stuck into the wall, which instantly changes the atmosphere in the room. Kohaku introduces himself as a member of the Alich Tamer Guild and explains that he came to ask for weapons, while a bearded man drinks quietly in the background. Kohaku flinches as a muscular hand brings the bottle down on the table with a loud crack, the sudden impact causing a sharp tension in the room. The boy is asked point-blank if he is a hunter, and he nervously confirms this, snapping back in annoyance as the tension in the situation mounts. In a sparsely furnished room, the girl cautiously asks if it is Zakus, to which he answers categorically, and her internal shock from his abrupt behavior grows. Zakus suddenly spoke with a serious expression, stating that hunters were important, which visibly confused Kohaku, who did not know how to react to this unexpected sincerity. The bearded man then explodes in anger, screaming the names of those he hates the most, while the girl behind him freezes in shock, her eyes wide at the sudden outburst. A defensive field spreads out around the house. One figure stands with outstretched arms, another kneels, and Claire anxiously asks if everything is all right with her master, reacting sharply to the insults. Kohaku is tormented by internal conflicts, tormented by aggressive thoughts, while someone firmly tells him not to rely on this person and assures him that everything is fine, urging him to calm down and cheer himself up. The scene opens to a view of the city of Flambert, then moves indoors, where Claire reflects on how Kohaku genuinely wanted him to succeed, and Sophie adds that this is understandable, since Zakus was considered the best blacksmith in the country. A young man holding a drink in his hands is perplexed as to why Zakus hated hunters so much, and another man casually asks if he is by any chance one of the client Zakusa. One man advises keeping an eye on certain people, while another drinks from his mug and admits that he was simply distracted by drinking too much. Kohaku asks who the man is, and he introduces himself as Kotori, and a girl nearby quietly finds the name cute and recalls hearing that he is the best blacksmith in the country. Kohaku reacts in shock when the man explains that the sword was once worth 1 platinum coin each and was highly prized and recognized by the most skilled craftsmen throughout the country. Kohaku nervously asks if there's any chance those swords are still for sale anywhere, and the spiky-haired man pauses thoughtfully before answering. Kohaku explains that everything accessible from the outside was destroyed, leaving nothing left, and the muscular man next to him calmly agrees, giving a short affirmative answer. Kohaku tensed in surprise as the man next to him explained that all of the swords, each worth 1 platinum coin, had been completely destroyed. A muscular man shows a gold coin and explains its meaning, prompting Kohaku to ask what it is for, before suddenly remembering something important with a surprised expression. The muscular man sternly warns him not to tell anyone what he just said, and Kohaku quickly nods, promising to keep it a secret. The bearded man remembers that the old man had a son, then asks Kohaku how old he is, to which Kohaku replies that he turned 20 this year. The muscular man notices that Zak's son is about the same age, and Kohaku's eyes widen in surprise at the realization. In a forest scene, a man stands with a large sword on his back, and it is explained that Zak's son Dak became a swordsman at the age of 13 and joined the Fight Hunters Guild. Kohaku listens in amazement as the muscular man explains that the stubborn old man would never have allowed him to go down such a path at first. They discuss how the profession constantly teeters on the brink of death, and how this danger led to heated arguments between father and son almost every night. After repeated quarrels, Zaki began reading the guild newspaper daily, and eventually, after another argument, his son decided to leave home forever. The spiky-haired man notices that the newspaper is publishing a list of the dead, and it's easy to see why the father might be so afraid. He begins to say Dacus's name. Another man, drinking, agrees, and the scene switches to a man covering the body with a cloth, noting that it was brought in later. It is explained that the wound on the son's body was inflicted by a human sword, not a demon, which leads to only one conclusion: he was killed by another hunter. The muscular man explains that his son was killed by a sword forged by Zak himself, and Kohaku listens silently, his expression tightening with the weight of the words. A man with spiky hair gestures with his mug, explaining that blacksmiths understand weapons better than anyone else, speaking bluntly as if stating an undeniable fact ingrained in their lives. One man kneels next to the body lying on the ground and explains that even skilled craftsmen can never confuse sword wounds with others, since the marks from the cuts reveal everything and cannot be mistaken for any other causes. The bearded man also kneels down and adds that someone like Zak would have immediately understood the truth, his tone firm and full of bitter certainty. Kohaku listens intently as the spiky-haired man explains that the hunter killed his son precisely because he became a hunter, adding to Zak's already existing feelings of guilt and hatred. In a rain-soaked forest clearing, a lone man stands before a grave believing he has killed his own son and deeply hating himself as the rain pours down relentlessly. Young woman asks Kohaku if what was said earlier was true, then he admits his uncertainty and mentions that he might visit Ashur when they return to the guild. Claire muses out loud that the kind man might know something, being a hunter from a combat guild, and Ashur happily invites Kohaku to visit at any time. Kohaku asks if Ashur has returned, and Claire explains that his group reached Risen shortly after the area was declared a danger zone. Sweating slightly, Kohaku confidently states that they must have a way to move extremely quickly to arrive in such a short time. The man explains that due to the large amount, payment cannot be made at the reception desk and asks to go to the waiting room, and the man sitting at the desk politely apologizes. Kohaku reacts with delight when Claire explains that the payment includes 1 platinum coin and 80 gold coins for 900 kilograms of high-quality iron ore. Kohaku explains that common iron ore sells for 5 silver coins per kilogram, while high-quality iron ore sells for 20 silver coins, carefully confirming its value. Kohaku hesitantly asks if the tray placed next to him is included in the price, his voice shaking slightly. He freezes in surprise when he realizes the tray is his, and Claire happily announces that the next step is to transform the magic crystal. This means that magic crystals are sold at 1 gold coin per kilogram, which makes a total of 300 kilograms, which is worth 3 platinum coins, plus 80 copper coins for completing the quest request. Kohaku nervously thanks Claire, who calmly offers to shift part of the payment into another package, demonstrating calm and cool efficiency.